Welcome to Inspiring People, the show about inspiring people, those who are inspired and those who inspire others. We all know them. They're good examples, they're supportive, they embrace life, they live inspiring lives in their day-to-day actions, and in turn, inspire others to do the same. Hi, welcome to Inspiring People. My name is Mary Otto. I'm the host of the show, and with me today is Therese Vogel. Welcome to the show, Therese.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. I've heard a lot about Therese, and I've actually seen some of the things that she's done, and so it's a real pleasure to have her on the show. Why don't we begin, Therese, by having you talk a little bit about who you are and where you come from. Let's start by having you talk about where you currently live and a little bit about your family.
Okay, presently I live between Felton and Ulen. I have a husband and two daughters. They both are now just have left for college. One's in grad school and one's entering their undergrad. So, and then my parents, I was actually from North St. Paul, so from the Twin Cities for some years. And that's where I graduated from high school, from North St. Paul. And my parents were actually from St. Paul. My dad came over from Austria back in about 1917.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Right. So, yeah, but I've lived in Felton since 1982.
Okay, so what brought you from the metropolitan area, from Minneapolis, St. Paul, to Felton?
Well, my husband, he works in weed science, and he graduated from the U of M and got a job up here in the Red River Valley in agriculture, and so he works in weed science.
Okay, maybe just for our viewers, you could let us know a little, and for me, what weed science is all about.
Well, he works for NDSU, and he does a lot of actually they grow weeds in the greenhouse in the winter and figure out the best ways to kill them.
Okay.
So then they do test plots in the summer and then, kill the weeds at different rates and what chemical is best and that kind of thing. So.
What's your current profession in Glendon Felton, right?
No, Ulen-Hitterdal. Yep, I work for Ulen-Hitterdal School. And I work half-time in career guidance,
okay.
And then half-time I'm community ed director.
Okay, so how do you make those two mesh? They really sound to me like they're two full-time jobs.
Well, they kind of are. In a lot of school districts, they are, for certain. We're a small school, and I was community ed director for a number of years. I was on the community ed board for, 6-8 years. I was a veteran. And then our community ed director, retired actually, and then so I took over as community ed director. So I did that job for many years, just that job, and that was over half-time actually.
Sure.
And then our career guidance counselor, moved on, so then I did that, moved in that too. So it just happened to be positions that are open. But for me, they complement each other quite well because I'm there in school, and so I can help mostly the high school kids, with careers, and then be running the community ed programs too. So it works well.
What sort of programs are you running right now through your community ed?
Well, we just finished up the ball program. That's a big one for us. We have soccer and some other classes during the summer for the students, and and then I work in the performing arts. That runs through the school year. So, but I work on that all summer because you're booking groups and arranging things. So, that's kind of a big part of it too.
Well, I believe I first came to know about you through your involvement with community theater. I'm a community theater person myself. And I think it would be great if you would share some with the audience about what you're doing in your area of the state for community theater.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm a real arts person myself. So with community ed, I was really lucky, I think, to be able to tie my own love of the arts into being rather creative, because I kind of have full license kind of to create what I really want to do there. So we renovated our theater, a few years ago, and then I formed a committee, and we decided, to have a performing arts series to try to use the theater, that is actually beautiful now. For the community. So, we set up and we had 6 events that first season, spaced throughout the school year, and it was really fun. It was successful, and it was just really nice to be able to bring performing arts, into such a rural community, into such a small community, and for people in the area, to be able to virtually walk and to be able to see quality entertainment. So how
does one go about doing that? With your committee? Do just think of, you look at your budget and then you think of acts or people that you'd like to have come and perform?
Well, sort of. I'm always looking. I read the forum. I'm always looking to see what other arts organizations in Minnesota, who they bring in, and you have a sense as to how big they are. So you have a sense as to how expensive they may be, to try to work it in to, to be able to bring them into our community. And so, I have found them in all different ways. Occasionally we'll use a booking agency. But, that becomes a little bit more expensive. So, and I kind of take pride in trying to find people myself, that are at the professional level, but that are booking themselves also. So, and so far, we'll be entering our 4th season. We're doing all right.
I think that's fabulous. Yeah. You did mention to me also that sometimes you frequent the theater here in Detroit Lakes too, don't you?
Yes, they have a beautiful theater here, and the programs they have are wonderful. Yes, and of course I like the physical facility too. I've been there many times. But yeah, the theater here, and we have shared. There have been a couple different groups that we've had, and that have been in Detroit Lakes also. But yeah, Detroit Lakes has got a good, excellent program.
And it's fun to have that camaraderie with other groups that have the same kind of mission that you do, to bring the arts to the communities and the sharing and so on.
Yes.
I noticed that you mentioned in there that you also use the other side of the facilities there, the physical fitness side of the building. And I think it would be fun for our viewers to know what you do besides being a guidance counselor and doing this work for community ed. There's another passion that you have that I think you should share with the viewers.
Yeah, well, I have, since the late 70s, I started running back, just a couple miles, and then I realized there was a race, and they still have the race all these years later in Fargo called the Red River Run, and I signed up to run it, not really knowing what it was so much. I don't know what I was thinking, but it ended up when I got there, I had never run more than 6 miles, and it was a 15K, which is 9.1. So I'm going, oh my gosh. So my first race was way long, but it was really fun, So since that time, I've increased, and then I ended up running for NDSU because I attended there in the early 80s. And so, I've continued to run all those years, and I've always been quite competitive. So, as you get up in age group, you're still always competitive because, your age group. Yeah.
Did I hear you say that you had only run 6 miles and now you were riding 9 some miles?
Well, yeah, I had only run 6 miles, and then I didn't realize that the race was actually 9 miles. So my first race was longer than I thought. Then I got a lot smarter on what road races were and how to train for them. And
okay, and I think we're going to do a second part on you, Therese, and one of those things is that you can maybe talk a little bit about how you train for some of this too. I can't imagine when you say 6 miles, did you start just slowly like, okay, I'm going to run a half a mile and then I'm going to run a mile, and
not quite that slow.
Well, that sounded pretty fast to me. Okay, first I'm going to run 2 miles, or how do you do that so that you can run 6 miles?
Well, of course, I was back in my late 20s, so it's a little different than if you start when you're a little older. But actually, my undergrad it ended up to be in physical education.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I coached for a couple of years cross country and track girls in Fargo, and then some on Hollywood and Hitterdall. So, I come from a little bit of background of running also, but that was before, I started running before, but I happened to latch on to some women who were running 2-3 miles. So, like I say, pretty young, so I just started running, I started at 2-3 miles. I'm running with them. And then, I just kind of built on that, and then, a lot of people will say, oh, I could never do that. I think my first marathon was in 1980. I don't know, I probably run 25 of them through the years. They say they can't do that, but anyone can run a race, if they're physically able, because it's just a matter of training. It's just that I train to do that.
Well, maybe in part 2 of our conversation, you can give some clues to those of us who, find this a little bit out of our realm of possibilities. So please join us for part 2 of my interview with Therese Vogel.